Hello, I'm going to talk about the cognitive approach. First, the meaning. The cognitive approach uses experimental research methods to study internal mental processes such as attention, perception, memory, and decision making. Cognitive psychologists often use the metaphor of the computer when discussing the mind, in terms of how computers process information. The aim of this approach is to build cognitive models of information processing that occurs in the mind and can include how we perceive things, how we understand language, and how we recall events from memory. So, at the end, what the cognitive approach means is how the brain works and can be better at accomplishing different goals. The approach largely emerged in the mid 50s out of three main factors. The first one is at the satisfaction of the somewhat simplistic experimental principles of behaviorism. Cognitive psychologists suggest that behavior is a result of cognitive processes, and so it is the processes that should be examined rather than the resulting behavior. They were looking closely at the brain, so to see how that behavior was made in this case. The second factor is advancements in better technology used for experimentation. Although somewhat more simplistic neuroimaging methods have been in use since the 80s, advancements in neuroimaging technology allow for better and more accurate visualizations of the living human brain. The third one, comparisons between the human brain and the computer in relation to information processing. The success and rapid uptake of the computer following the Turing machine that broke the Enigma code in the Second World War, the way in which computers process information using rules or networks allowed researchers to reflect on how the human brain could also process information. So, thanks to the technology, they were getting deeper in the brain and how it acts. The 1956 was a crucial year for its development. Why? Naomi Chomsky gave a paper on his theory of language during a meeting at MIT. George Miller discussed the magic number 7 in relation to short-term memory. Newell and Simon first discussed the general problem solver model and the systematic attempt to study concept formation from a cognitive perspective was conducted by Brunner, Goodnow, and Austin. So, we have here to B.F. Skinner, and we have Noam Chomsky. During this time, there were also important debates occurring between the behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner and the linguistic and cognitive science Noam Chomsky on how language is learned and processed by humans. Skinner was a pioneering psychologist of the what was then dominant behaviorist approach to psychology. Skinner behaviorists proposed that we cannot study the mind using scientific measures, and so psychologists need to build models that do not rely on the measures of the mind. He also suggested that psychology should be limited to the study of behaviors and how they result from external stimulation, so therefore we should view language as an ability that develops through environment influences. Chomsky, on the other hand, suggested that we can scientifically study the process of the mind that contribute to language processing. He argued that human behaviors are the result of mental processing and should therefore be the main focus of psychology, even though they have different um, ideas and opposite ideas. Both contribute to this approach. The name cognitive psychology comes from 1967 book of the same title by Ulrich Nisser, largely considered the father of cognitive psychology. With this publication, Nisser brought together research concerning perception, pattern recognition, attention, problem solving, and recognition. This book is considered to be largely influential in the development of this field of research. There are four main approaches to the field of cognitive psychology. The first one is the experimental cognitive psychology. It involves studying human cognition through behavioral evidence. What this means is the study of what the human does. Cognitive neuroscience involves evidence from behavior and brain to understand the human condition. The cognitive neuropsychology, not to be confused with cognitive neuroscience, cognitive neuropsychology is concerned with studying brain damaged patients as a way of understanding normal condition. So in this part, it's what the sickness that that is being studied mostly. And the computational cognitive science involves developing computational models to further our understanding of human cognition. This is related more to technology. Thank you very much.